Hi, welcome. I'm Mary Crowley, and this is Mostly Arts. Today we are going to be talking about something that is very dear to my heart, and that is the Peace Train that was a part of All Aboard Rutland, a street art project in 2006. It is quite wonderful that Robert Black has come into possession of this train so that we can use it as a catalyst for all kinds of worthwhile activities. 2006, Jim, you know the story of how the trains came to be.
So in 2006, I believe you and Karen Seward approached me at the Chaffee. I was the director of the Chaffee Art Center at that time. And you came to the Chaffee and you wanted to do a community art project for Rutland. Other towns had been doing this for a few years. Brandon had been involved in community art projects, Manchester, Saratoga, a lot of communities in our area. So you came to the Chaffee, we sat down. I think there were some ideas rolling around in the beginning. And we formed a little committee. I believe we pulled in at that time the Downtown Partnership, which was headed by Marianne Goulet at that time. And we just had brainstorming sessions. So we went from, what is this street project going to be? Is it going to be benches? Is it going to be bears? And we came up with trains. Trains were more, personal to Rutland and Rutland's history. We also thought that building these trains would be a good idea, that we could build them in our community instead of buying a product from another state. So how personal it was, that it was an idea of using trains that really were very personal to Rutland, and that somebody in our community could build these trains. So through those committee sessions that we had, we came up with Michael from downtown.
And Michael couldn't be with us, so I will just hold this up. Michael of Michael's Toys built all of the trains.
That's right, right. So we came up with a design, and Michael built them all, which was a tremendous feat.
Unbelievable.
These things are not small. These are quite large. A lot of work went into building these. The next phase was for artists to come up with concepts. And those concepts were displayed on the Paramount Theater, Paramount stage. And potential sponsors came, and they looked at each artist's rendering, and they made bids. So they sponsored each train.
And for the most part, they were businesses, right?
They were large businesses in our area, yes, very much. So once that was done, then the artists got to work. Each artist got a train. All the trains looked the same. The train that I did, I added a coal car to the train because of my concept, but most of the trains just were the engine. I also changed my train's design a little bit. I had a friend work on this with me who was a carpenter, and he helped me round.
Was that Michael Walker?
No, it's Michael Walker, yeah. So we rounded the roof over the engine and over the cab. We put a different smokestack on, different wheels. We really just,
You had fun.
I had a lot of fun with it. And I don't know how these things come to my mind when I am faced with a project like this, which I've done a lot of street art projects. I have my own brainstorming session and just really pour out a lot of ideas onto paper and see what really feels right.
Did you grapple with other ideas as well as, or did these come to you first?
I did. This one really stood out first. Okay. Obviously, it's a train, so Peace Train, and just the message of peace and love felt like it fit.
Right. And it's so incredibly relevant today. We have Ukraine, we have Gaza, we have people from the Congo trying to escape to the United States. I mean, we need peace.
Right. And as you can see, the Peace Train is fueled by peace, which is in the coal car. So there's little peace signs made out of wood, and the concept is that those little peace signs were pieces of coal in a sense, and that fueled the train.
Yes.
So one more piece is that before the parade, which was very, very large, we took this train up to Montpelier to the State House with a lunch with Governor Douglas at the time. And we presented this train just as a symbol of what Rutland was doing at the time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So it made it up to the State House. We had a very, very large parade in downtown Rutland where all the trains were paraded down Merchants Row and then up Center Street.
And that was in April, and it was a perfect day, and we had a huge event.
It
was a community
huge.
event.
Yes, it was
Full
huge.
of spirit.
They estimated 5,000 people downtown. NBC, CAX, all the news media were here as well. So it really made a big splash. It really brought the community together.
It did.
And it was really was a wonderful project to be involved with.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mention now Mary Ann Goulet. Mary Ann Goulet was the executive director of the Rutland Downtown Partnership. She was and is capable and creative. And she made so many good decisions about how this was to proceed. The parade was one of them. Having the trains on display over a period of months, and then having an auction at the Paramount in October.
That's right.
Was wonderful, so that people got a chance to see them. Tourists got a chance to see them.
That's right.
There was a booklet and a brochure. I'll just hold these up. This was the brochure, and you can see the peace train is there. I think you can see it's there. This was a booklet which I kept, and I'm just going to mention because I want to make a point. This Halloween train, 4 of us worked on, and the reason we chose it was, I think the event that Rutland City is known for is the Halloween parade. And so we did that, and that was great fun. And the ghost was Karen Seward's idea. Then Karen and I did We All Scream for Ice Cream, and she did the ice cream cone. She likes doing 3-dimensional things. And then the last one that I wanted to mention, any street art project can be multi-generational. And this was Noah's Ark done at Grace Church. And we had young and old and in between, and we worked on Saturday mornings, and all kinds of people were there, not necessarily artists, and they were guided to make fish or lions or some other animal, pairs of them, and then we cut those out and put them on the train. And it was a highly successful art project for the church, and the church sponsored it. It wasn't a business that sponsored that particular train. And I think there was an individual who was involved. So Mary Ann Goulet said a couple of things in an email to me that I wanted to mention. And one of them was that she made lifelong friends with the area artists that she had a chance to, to connect with during the time that she was there. And then another thing she didn't say, but I want to mention, she decided the Halloween parade should have some tangible structure for a float. So she said to Michael, you're going to be up there on the platform, open bed, and Mary's going to be at the other end with the train. She's going to be painting the train, you're going to be making the train. And I said, I don't want to do that. She said, no, you have to do it. So she was always very persuasive. She had a vision, and she knew what she wanted. And it was a successful float. There was a railroad, there was a light, there was an imitation of a railroad, and if you know how to publicize something, you're all set. And she did know. Wow. So anyway, Robert, let's talk about you and your vision. The reason this is happening is because you have the train.
Yes, Mary, that's right. I have this experience. I'm an architect and a teacher and a professional facilitator, and I'm always looking for opportunities to do something in a community that brings people together. Mm-hmm. So I had the great pleasure of knowing Stephen and Edna Sutton in Brandon. Mm-hmm. And they started Compass Music and Art Center, and then they had Brandon Music. And I worked with them as an architect and also as a friend. But when they left to move back to England and had a big auction and sold everything but a few items in the building, the rest of those became mine. one of which was the Peace Train. And I walked by this thing every day for a year while Stephen and Edna were gone, and I was watching the building until it sold. And it was talking to me, this train. And it
spoke to you.
it said, wait, you're walking, here's what you should do. And I thought, I need to bring it home. Not to my house, but to its house, which is Rutland. The roundhouse, the trains, the
Right,
gut, everything was here. And so I thought, well, maybe we'll do this. And so I started to talk to people, and I didn't realize there's a little tag on there I finally saw that said Jim Boughton, Mike Walker. And I thought, oh man, I know Jim from my work with the carving studio and his wife and PEG TV. And so I contacted him, and I also have an office in the hub. And I talked to Mark Foley Jr. and Lyle Jepson and Bill Lucci, who became supportive of this. That right now, today, the Peace Train is sitting in the lobby of outside the door for Cedar. And so the businesses to continue to support this thing. So this idea has grown just sort of, serendipitously. I met Megan Marsh at the lower school thanks to meeting Bill Olson through Bill Lucci, and all these little connections, like Mary Ann was talking about, these people have grown into my life in a way that I could never have had but for this Peace Train thing. Megan, meeting with her was very exciting because she saw the possibility in this and connecting to students. And so we're working on some ideas right now to gin this up. If it works out this afternoon, the Peace Train will make its next station stop at the Rutland Middle School. And we will begin its journey into the forays of 7th and 8th grade education, maybe.
And where will it go after that? I just want this to be mentioned.
Well, the next thing is, you had mentioned that businesses supported this, but also churches and other parts of the community development, like Grace Church. So on December 3rd through January 3rd, the Peace Train will roll down the tracks and find itself at its next station stop at Grace during the season between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yes.
And for many people, that is a time of real serious reflection about, may peace be upon us, right?
Yes.
And so hopefully this little catalyst will help stimulate that in this community, and also become a force for possible artwork that people would do within the church community, within the larger community, within the schools, and begin to link the businesses, the churches, the other community pieces, the service groups of this town together in a way that maybe the Peace Train will teach us how to be better citizens together. And one last thing real quickly is, there's a list of all the different participants that were in here, the artists, the businesses. There's a community chemistry already in place from 2006. Yes. Could we rekindle that chemistry in such a way that feeds back the strength of our business community into our developing youth and future business workers? And so we might have students take on a research project to see if we can find out where the rest of the trades are right now, and maybe even have a new parade, have a big party.
Have a big party on Center Street.
Yeah. So it's finding its own way through our lives, and I'm hopeful that it will generate some really meaningful things for all of us.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
And now we are going to have 3 more people on to talk about what's happening or what will happen in the Rutland City Public Schools. I'm here with 3 more people who are going to be involved with the Peace Train. The Rutland City Public Schools Superintendent, Bill Olson. The Rutland High School Principal, Greg Schillinger. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. And the Rutland Middle School Principal, Megan Marsh. I'm so happy that you agreed to be on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Bill,
us.
how about you first? Do you support using the Peace Train in the schools?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think when Robert talked to us about this as an opportunity to connect back to the history of the event itself, and as a way to communicate concepts through art, we thought this would be a great thing. And we thought initially maybe the middle school would be a good start, because the middle school has done a lot of work with trying to use art as a means of expression for kids. They've done some work in their lobbies, in the lobby and in the hallways, and have involved kids. They've had resident artists.
Well, now I want to ask a question. Are the classroom teachers targeting art in some ways, or are they the art teachers doing it only?
Well, that's a question for Megan, I
Okay.
think, yeah.
Art certainly carries throughout the curriculum.
It does.
Our social studies and English teachers often use it. Actually, even our science teachers do water painting for their cell unit.
Okay.
So it definitely carries through
Good.
most of our classes.
Okay, I'm glad, as a former English teacher and art teacher, I'm glad to hear that.
Yep.
Okay, Bill, back to you.
So yeah, we thought that would be a good way to connect with middle school kids and engage them. And they love things that are like this and that are hands-on and visual. So that was a good starting point. And the way we try to structure middle school curriculum usually is trying to integrate different content areas together. So art and history is a natural idea there, and it would be an opportunity for the kids to learn a little bit about the history of Rutland, right, through the history of the railroad. And then this event itself, and I was looking at some brochures and some newspaper clippings that you had brought with you, I think, that from the event itself in 2006, and I remember it. I think I was working in the middle school then at that time. But I remember what a big event it was and how engaged people in the community were, how visually stimulating it was, and the different styles of art. I was talking about it recently with some people around the community saying I was going to be on your show, Mary, and I think somebody mentioned the train that was at Seward's, and how much little kids love to check that out, and they really enjoyed it. So I remember my kids really enjoyed the time period. Looking at the newspaper clippings, that was really a big event. I had forgotten how big it was.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it brought the community together better than any other event since I've moved here, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe this would be an inspiration for something like this again, possibly.
I hope so.
I think kids sometimes help adults start new ideas and kind of require us to get engaged. And maybe this is something that will come out of this. We do something similar.
Okay. Greg?
Yes.
You agreed to have the train at Rutland High School,
Absolutely, sure.
and why did you decide to do that?
Well, I think a couple of reasons. It's such a great message that it provides. I mean, I think, as you mentioned in your earlier segment, I mean, I think we can all use a dose of peace in our lives. I think that's good for everyone. I think that we plan to display it in a public area, near the cafeteria and at one of sort of the junctures of the high school. We've been honored to host. We have another train as kind of a permanent installation outside of our theater, and our Encore Theater program that's been a part of their program for many years. I think back to 2006, 2007. So. We're really honored to be able to host now the next iteration, the Peace Train, and also, as Bill mentioned, we're excited about possibilities for the future.
Okay, both, yes. I didn't know that would come up today, but I'm glad. Why not?
Let's start it.
Let's start it, right. Why not?
Start the idea.
That's right.
So, Megan, I understand that you are very enthusiastic about this.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We are working really hard on our environment at the middle school. It's kind of a joke in the district that I like loud, bright colors, and
There you go.
every chance I get to put something bright and colorful in the middle school, I am on it.
Okay.
And so I think that it's visually exactly what the middle school needs, and the message is also one that is really important for our kids.
Do you have any idea of how this can weave into your curriculum?
Yes, we are actually, having talked to Robert a few times, our advisory program is going to be doing small interactive.
Wait, advisory program, what is that?
It is a program that we have in place. Every student, when they come into the middle school, has an advisor. And we have about 25 minutes in our school day where the 10 to 12 kids meet with their advisor. We do a lot of social emotional learning. We do a lot of how to be a good citizen, how to be a good middle schooler.
That's amazing. When did that get put in place?
I believe it's been on and off throughout the middle school's history.
Okay.
When I was in the middle school, I had an advisor way back when.
You did?
So yes,
Okay.
yep, Miss Bachman was my middle school advisor.
Okay.
So it was something that was brought back, I think, most recently during COVID. And it gives every student a chance to have...
Did you have Zoom sessions during COVID? You did.
We sure
Okay.
did, yes.
So that
Yep.
kept kids connected, and maybe some of them needed the help emotionally?
And it gave every student one safe adult that they could go to in the building. You know, no student was slipping through the cracks.
So if I have a
because-
problem, I'm being bullied, I can go to my advisor and tell him or her?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, they're the advocate, they're always in your corner. They're the point of contact for families, so families always know who to communicate with.
All right. And is this program just in the middle school?
No.
It's,
We also have a similar program in the high school.
Okay.
It's built in. We have advisory. Students meet with their advisors once a week. Very similar model to
Okay.
what you see at the middle school. The advisor typically is the same advisor through all 4 years.
that's wonderful.
It is. We do our best to try to maintain that. And as Megan mentioned, I think the real point of that is making the more connections that a student has to their school. So especially as a brand new, say, 9th grader, in my case, I'm new to the school. I don't know that many adults.
Right.
Here's an adult that I'm meeting with regularly. At the start of the year, we'll actually have about a week's worth of advisories just each day. So try to establish that connection early on. And you know, again, speaking of the peace train and the arts, like the part of the point there is the connections that can be made between disciplines. For example, art and history, art and math and geometry. It's all built into a program like this.
Well, I didn't think we'd be talking about this, but I'm glad we are. I think people need to know that this is happening.
Yeah.
So you said you were going to be making use of the advisory groups.
Yes, so in small groups in our advisories, we will have interactive work that the students can do with the train.
Okay.
One thing that Robert has said to me time and time again was his idea of using impression and expression to interact with art. So we'll be incorporating that into some activities for our students.
So there'll be probably some art up in the halls or an art show near the end of the year to showcase what has happened, or?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just throwing that out as a former art teacher.
Yes.
Art needs to be shared.
Agreed.
And if a kid works and works and works and nothing happens, there's no way to show it to other students or parents, then there's not the motivation.
Right.
If a kid knows ahead of time, if a student knows ahead of time that there's going to be some sort of display,
Right.
I think the student, you know, sort of pushes
a little more
herself or himself.
Agreed. Yeah, there's
Okay.
some motivation. And we're very fortunate in the high school, Catherine Wiegers, who has done a number of murals here in town. She's also done murals at the high school.
She is a bright and shining light.
She's wonderful.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's a great opportunities for students to see an artist at work. So she's come in and installed some murals in the high school. And my understanding is she actually did, many years ago, she was one of the artists for
Yes, she
one of the
was.
trains,
Yes.
I think on the farm.
Her
Yeah.
train was delightful.
Yes,
Yeah,
wonderful. But we particularly like the connection to the history of Rutland. You know, we were in coming here today, I had to wait for the train to for the crossing.
Yes.
So that's a part of Rutland's history. We are still hardworking, blue collar. We're not this lily-handed community. We're very much connected to our history as well. And I think this project connects not only students, as we were talking about, students to different disciplines, and also to their own local history.
Yes. And also, I mean, this is peripheral to what we're talking about. I read an article about trains being probably the best way to travel nowadays because of greenhouse gases, and
right.
and you have mass numbers of people in the trains.
Right.
And
Right.
planes are not trains. They
gas.
they use more greenhouse
Very true.
gases.
Very true.
Megan, do you have more you want to add?
I think just continuing off Greg's last statement, it's really important for our students to see the amazing things that are happening in Rutland community. It
I
is
do too.
so status quo for every teenager to say, oh, I hate Rutland, I can't wait to leave. Every school I've ever been to across the country, teenagers are saying that. So I think the more that we can show them the value of the community that we have, the better off we all are.
I think so too. And I do think we need, I don't know, a Center Street party at some point.
I agree.
Maybe in the spring when the weather gets better, maybe sooner, maybe a party at the Paramount. I'm just sort of brainstorming this. I didn't think about this until this morning. A chance for all ages to celebrate.
Right.
There was first night. It was New Year's Eve that Rutland had at one point, and that was a wonderful, wonderful
good
show.
event.
You could go from place to place. You could see artists, hear musicians. You could go in the Paramount. There was a community spirit, and we don't have an event like that anymore. So maybe this would be the beginning of an annual event when we celebrate our city.
Right.
It'd be a good way to do that. And I think when I think about a long time ago, Steve Halford at the high school, the art teacher at the high school,
Yes.
got kids involved in the Halloween parade and in the float that the high school
Yes.
used to make. And that was really engaging. And it always communicated a message, and it was always something that is interesting to people. This maybe we could do something similar with kids, or at least kids could be the impetus for getting it going again. I've seen. I mean, this is not a new idea, obviously, and I've seen still around communities around New England doing things like this. You know, similar ideas. So bringing that back would be a good way to maybe bring the community together and
I think so.
help create a
Yes.
focus and a purpose for kids to be involved.
And
I'm just thinking about first night. I would see people and talk to them, and maybe I hadn't seen them for 6 months or 2 years.
Right.
But we had something in common, so we would re-engage. And that's community spirit right there.
right.
Right.
So I guess we're all agreed that this is a good project.
Let's pick a date.
Let's
Pick a date and
Pick a
go
date.
for it.
There you go.
we got to get Mary Ann Goulette involved, and
You bet.
Sure.
Get Mary Ann
Yeah,
Goulette
yeah,
involved.
yeah.
She's going to be watching this.
yeah.
She can't be here today.
Yeah.
Well, I just thank you very, very much for coming, Bill and Greg and Megan. And I look forward to, seeing what happens.
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you and Robert for the chance to
Yes.
host the train for a little
Yes.
bit and share it with our kids.
Thank you both.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you for watching. I want to say thank you to Robert Black for beginning this whole process.